DJ MayDay with Black Man. And we're here at the con, and I just wanted to know, what does this mean for you?
It means for me, because I'm black and I'm black man, I'm out here promoting positivity, letting these people, or the masses, see how positive we can be.
Let's go. Let's go. That's what's up, man. So how long have you been coming to these cons? Or is this like your first?
See, cause before I became black man, because I always been black.
Right.
I was black boy, and now I'm black man. So I didn't know what cosplay was. But I wanted a cape at Great Adventure, and then it said Batman on the back.
Right.
And I'm not black. I'm not Batman.
Let's go.
I'm Batman.
All right.
I got the bad boy name. I've been coming to cons ever since.
That's awesome, bro. That's all. What does this do for you personally? Your health, your mental health?
It makes me feel good, of course.
All right. All right.
You like people taking pictures of you. You know, you like people taking pictures of you.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but this is Comic Con, and it's called cosplay, but black man ain't playing.
Peace. And today, we got to start over. Sorry.
The infamous gauntlet, the one that caused us to break up. Are you gonna wear it? Okay.
And just put it up. And then take it out.
Oh
I'm a child.
no, it's not that. It's just great to have it like in the.
I'll put it down.
Thing. Oh, okay.
Hello, welcome to Six Train Therapy. I'm DJ MayDay, your artist.
And I'm Professor S, your psychotherapist. You're also the content creator.
We are the content creators.
Okay, we are the content creators. Yes.
So today we're going to talk about one of the most fun things I always love to do every year.
Look at you getting all excited.
That's really
you're like,
lightens my soul.
You're like glistening with excitement.
We're going to talk about Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
And things I noticed about Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
That was very interesting. Like when you walk into Comic-Con, everyone is happy.
But you have to explain what Comic-Con is. A lot of people don't know what that is.
Oh, Comic-Con.
Put it up some more. Wait a minute. Go ahead.
I'm going to leave it on the table.
You don't think all those flashing lights going to be distracting? Okay, in honor of Comic-Con.
I'll turn it up.
No, well, no.
So we're going to talk about Comic-Con, but we're going to talk about
show them again.
The glove?
Yeah. Yeah, look at it. Go ahead, show them. Yeah, look at that. But don't each color mean something?
Yes, they're all the stones are elements of the universe, and Thanos, one of my favorite characters ever in comic book history, only because of the movies. Before that, he was just a villain to me.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to control the universe, had his theories on erasing half of the universe, so the other half.
Which he got to do, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So that we saw Thanos in which movies? The Avengers,
Infinity War, and Endgame.
The Infinity War and Endgame.
Well, he was throughout, right? He was in a lot, and he did little cameos in Avenger movies, and there were things about him in Guardians of the Galaxy. So he was kind of throughout.
Oh, okay.
But that's his big debut, was
right. And the gauntlet was something that allowed him to wipe out half of the universe. The universe or the Earth? Universe. The universe, yeah.
So yes. So
Comic-Con, what is it?
Comic-Con. Comic-Con is an amazing place where people can like go and change, buy comics, sell comics, buy memorabilia, all based around this wonderful imaginary world of comics, and
which includes anime, right?
Which now includes anime, which now includes
Japanese animation and books, manga books. You didn't
And-
know I knew these things, did you?
No, I'm
You know what I'm saying? I
surprised.
have a plethora of empty information in my head. A plethora.
Yes, plethora.
Yes.
And video games and so many other things. So it's just a really communal place, and I'm like, what makes this place like tick? Why is everyone like almost ecstatic to be here, and how that impacts people? So
And I've been there. I've been there twice.
I've been
with my son when he was much younger. We did it, so I get an idea of what the environment is like.
Yeah, and I've been going since I was 12. You know, almost every
And you're
year.
15 now, right? Because you look about 15 or 16.
Yeah, shit.
There's not a line in his face. Look at him. Look at him. Just genetics.
Yes.
Anyway, please go on.
I just want to give a little context, so I'm going to go into like a little bit of the history of Comic Con and just throw that out there and just see what you guys, how you guys feel, and if you knew, great. If you didn't, you know,
We're providing information.
yes. The first official comic book convention was held in 1964 in New York City, and was called New York Comic Con. Early conventions were small affairs, usually organized by local enthusiasts such as Jerry Balls, later known as the father of comic fandom, and Kevin Kaler of the Academy of Comic Book Fans and Collectibles, and featuring a handful of industry guests. The first reoccurring convention were in Detroit. They were called Triple Fanfare. And this just continued on and spread throughout the country and around the world.
What's interesting too is you said 64 or 65?
Yeah, 64.
So, you know, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever is coming out soon. And as the first black superhero in comic books, he came out around 1965.
Okay.
Somewhere along that lines, and so it was close to when that started. So it's just very interesting, the timing. That's all.
Well, it's all in tandem with the civil rights movement, anti-war movement. So there was a lot happening around those times. I mean, the name comes literally from the Black Panthers.
Yes,
You know, the activists on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, but we went there, and what I tried to do was talk to people and see what they were thinking and how they were feeling, and you know, here's just a little clip of some of the things that I saw.
All right, it's your guy DJ MayDay, and I'm talking to creator Dope Pope. Dope Pope, what's going on, man?
What's up, DJ?
What's going on, man? So I always come to these cons. You always come to these cons, but I want to know what your opinion is about. What do you think it does for people?
This is a beautiful thing for people. People they get to spend the day or the entire con being in their element. That's important.
And what is that? What is that exactly?
Well, you know, just being amongst like-minded individuals that draw what you draw, watch what you watch, wear what you wear, do what you do, all that stuff. That means a lot to people, and I think that's why so many people flock to these shows. And I think that's it's important to the people behind the tables as much as it is important to the people walking on the outside. We all need each other.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you got going on here?
Every time I do these shows, I just trickle in some new 2D prints and new 3D prints. So it's a mix of old and new. But my latest piece is Leatherface, and I got the 3D print coming tomorrow. I don't have it with me today.
Oh, okay. Is it a bust?
It's a buzz. It'll be like one of these.
Oh man, it's awesome.
And it looked good. I saw a picture of it. It looks good. Looking forward to that. And yeah, but most of the time I'm doing the kaijus, which I'm famous for. Got a lot of fans.
What's your IG?
Dope Pope. Zeros for O's. And zoom in on this. This is the avatar. If you see this guy, you found me.
All right, thanks, bro.
And you know, everyone once again is just ecstatic to be there. So I kept like seeing this. It felt like a therapeutic experience for a lot of people. You know, for cosplayers, for them to step into personas that they only dreamed about or watched or fantasized about is I don't know, fulfilling for them.
And I think especially like we're kind of sort of post-pandemic, so folks can really get out and form the communities that they missed for so many years. Folks would do it annually, and now people have the opportunity to freely come together and be part of their own world, their own community.
Yeah.
So
and it's also for the creators too.
Yes.
It's something that they love to do. They're obviously not in it to become millionaires or billionaires. They do it because they love it. And for me as an artist, I definitely relate. I've been on both sides. I've been a fan, and I've been on the other side doing independent comics. So I kind of I see all aspects of it, but there's a stream that runs through it that is just genuinely seems like everyone's happy and being fulfilled in some kind of way.
And can I just share too? I used to be a comic collector when I was a kid, so Marvel was my brand versus DC or any of the other. I don't know if you call that brand, but the
No, it's a brand.
their brands. Okay,
Yeah, you can say that.
so folks like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, folks like that were really actually the X-Men were my favorites.
Yeah,
They were my favorites coming up.
for me it was always Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I think this is a part of it too, right? Like Spider-Man, especially when I started reading it, I was 12, 13 when I started reading it. And his whole experience, he was a teenager,
Right.
thrusted with all this power and
Right.
responsibility. I cannot tell you that, explain how like paralleled his experience because I was a teenager in high school going through the same.
And he was
similar-
geeky.
yeah, he was.
And he was a geeky
Yeah.
teenager, right? So I think that I don't mind if I
No, go ahead.
interrupt, but I think one of the things that set Marvel apart from DC and whatever other comic books is that the Marvel characters were more fleshed out. Like they had problems.
They had a
weren't-
backstory.
They had a backstory, and they were different, and they had to deal with the difference. And in the '60s, there was a whole idea, being different, being more accepted, and more of a who you are was important as
Yeah,
opposed to conforming to the
Absolutely.
society.
And I
So-
think it was that search for identity in the comics
yes,
that,
absolutely.
that helped you relate to it. So, like I was saying, like I really closely associated with Spider-Man, everything that he was going through, whether it was girl problems, school problems, fitting in problems. But then he had this other side of him, this high moral valued side to him that I wanted to be and achieve. So it just kind of set the stage for me to be similarly like have the same kind of morals with great power, protect, all those cliche things. As a child, you hear them and you kind of want to be that.
Yeah.
You idealize that. So I think for a lot of people, there was a lot of that. So getting a chance to dress up at these cons like your favorite hero that you dreamt of and always wanted to be, I think is wildly fulfilling. And there's some correlation between art and mental health.
And mental well-being, absolutely. Creativity as an outlet, I think it's one of those ways of taking care of yourself. So if you can do that and have a community to share that with, then that creates a higher sense of well-being, right? Because more and sense of fulfillment. So it actually has a therapeutic value. Also, kind of putting the costumes together, finding the wigs, finding the hardware, creating the hardware. It's all a way of putting a focus on something that it takes the focus away from like day-to-day struggles. Like now you actually focus on creating something, and a lot of times in the Comic-Con and the characters, there are concrete things that you're making.
Right.
It's not just I'm going to look at a comic, even though folks do that, but you're actually creating like, clothing, you're creating headwear, you're creating an image and an energy. So yeah, it's a form of well-being, and it's creating. So yeah.
Also, like as an artist, like part of the reason why I am an artist is that it's a nonverbal communication for me, and it's a way for me to say and speak out and my thoughts or just my views.
Express yourself.
Yeah, it's not really that deep. And always when I'm not feeling good, and this is a real thing, when I'm not feeling good, when I create, I feel better.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt about it. And I've known this since I was a child. So and sometimes when I don't create or don't do something creative, it piles up and I do feel it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and the more I looked at it, and nowadays that's kind of how I look at life and how people react to stuff. And this year in particular, when I went to the con, I saw it through a different lens,
Well, how was it different?
Just I think it was me being there. I just saw it differently. Like I was looking at instead of the usual, just cool costumes, cool comics, cool drawings,
Mm-hmm.
cool statues, cool toys, cool this, cool that. I was looking at it, watching the people and their interaction.
Okay.
And I just saw how fulfilled these people were,
Yeah. The
and
excitement.
just the excitement and
To me, I imagine like finally getting out of the house, finally
too.
getting to have my favorite meal. You know what I mean? And the meal and everybody's eating the different parts of the meal, and everybody's having a great time. I do want to share also a personal experience, because I dabble as an artist as well. And during the pandemic, that's all I kind of did to keep myself less anxious, be less anxiety. And I actually didn't realize I was doing that until more towards the end of that whole wave of me being creative. And I realized this was all my own therapy to manage anxiety,
Yeah.
because so much was unknown about the virus, and we were hearing things every day, and that artistic part of me just came out. So now I have about 100 pieces. Did you know that?
I didn't know you had 100.
I have 100
I know
pieces
you have a lot.
from the let me put it this way: the newer things since the pandemic, that's easily like 70 pieces.
Wow.
Everything else has already been done before.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So you were. It's ironic because you were more prolific.
more prolific during
I
this time.
was like absolutely not prolific at all. Like it kind of crushed my creativity a little bit
Yeah,
initially. For the first couple of months, and it took me a little bit. I was like, all right, I have to dig out of this, and I have to kind of find my way.
But how much of your art is actually inspired by people? Because you're a very outgoing person. How much of that is an internal kind of expression? How much of that is, by being out and being more social? Does that help?
I think
Kind of
so.
access
Like
the
if I
creative
don't,
head?
yes. To answer your question, yes, because if
These
I
are
can't,
good questions, right?
yeah,
Vanessa?
very good question.
So I should take over this show. I should be the
You
interviewer.
could absolutely.
No, but go ahead.
But it's if I have no one to show it to,
Right,
like I
exactly.
feel like, what am I doing?
Right. And I'm the opposite.
Right,
Even though eventually I want to show it,
right,
but that doesn't drive me at all. It's like I just want to do it.
right,
And then when I see all these things I've created, it's like, yeah, I want to show it now.
right. But also I internalize that thought process as well. Like I don't necessarily need to show people. I need to get it out of me.
Right, get it out.
And I learned a little bit of that because I have been drawing since I was a kid, and the whole purpose was to show.
That's
right?
absolutely, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there was no one to show.
Can't show it, yeah.
So I guess I just kind of was like,
Yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah,
But eventually, I realized that the point is for me,
right.
and
get
that
it
was
out. Yeah.
to get it out of me. So that was interesting. So this is all like touching on all kinds of things. And as I did the research, I also, I looked into art therapy. And now this is purely based on research. Now I also want to stipulate one thing about who I am. I am not a therapist. I am super interested and I love to kind of look stuff up, but that's what I do. I encourage anybody, if you hear anything that we say that, or specifically that I say that you may like or dislike, I encourage you to do your own research and ask around. But these are just things that I noticed and I, want to bring something to the table. So
absolutely.
I looked up art therapy and I just want to give a quick framework for what art therapy is. It's a language of self-exploration. So it's a form of exploring oneself. So it's not necessarily just purely for creating art. You can internalize it. So that's a part of it. It also can help with psychological distress, to emotional dysregulation, from supporting recovery from grief or PTSD, and even dementia and addiction. I had no idea that it can kind of cover all those things in a blanket and help with all those things.
I worked for a community-based program for about 7 years, and we worked with folks who had HIV, substance use problems, various traumas, and so on. And we had an art therapist that was part of the team, like an integral part of the team. It wasn't somewhere that folks went and did arts and crafts. It wasn't that at all. It was the art was used to explore what was going on in the person's mind. And there's a whole bunch of techniques that art therapists are trained in, which you have to have a master's degree in art therapy to really do this therapeutically. So, yeah.
Just another aspect I just want to say, talk about is how does creating art impact the brain?
Hmm.
Exposure to all kinds of art promotes interconductivity
Where are your
across.
glasses? Do you have
I
glasses?
need my glasses.
Do you need
Across
readers?
a vast, yes, I do, a vast and complex network of billions of neurons in our brains.
See, we're working on this. We're trying to improve how we do this. So, preparation is important to
Oh, this is not
execution.
helping at all.
That's not helping at all?
No.
Okay, so that's that. Anyway.
So anyway, so it stimulates brain growth and conductivity amongst neurons. That is like the physical translation of art therapy. And there's also, it's not just art, right? It's not just like painting and drawing. There's dance therapy.
That's right.
You know, there's so much that you can do, and if you are lean towards one way or the other, there's music therapy as well. So there's music, there's art, there's dance. I mean,
Well, like one of my clients who trained in art therapy, one of the things he always says is that art heals. So that's one of the just general themes. Like if you have a creative outlet, even if it's like plants or gardening or any of those other kind of artistic or physical outlets, it's creating some type of healing process. The chemicals that are being released are causing one to relax and feel good. So, yeah.
it's super interesting. And you know what? Another thing that I was looking at all these things, it's just a cascade of information.
I
But
like that word, cascade. A plethora, cascade, multiple.
yes, and I started thinking, because since I looked through life through the Bronx, right?
Yes.
This is my lens. This is how I see life.
And we're based in the Bronx.
Yeah, so I looked through that lens, and so music, art, dance, they're all important things, and they feed the mind, the soul, and it helps heal the brain, actually physically in some ways. It just got me thinking about like the elements of hip hop. Let me just run that. So it's DJing, MCing, b-boying, which is dancing, and graffiti, which is art, and it all leads to the final element of knowledge. And I'm like, all right, and this was all created when the Bronx was burning. Was this like
the 70s?
Yeah, in the 70s when the Bronx was burning? That's when hip hop was created. The fires of the Bronx. It's forged in the fires. But
it really has, because it's the music of our time now. Any commercial has some form of rap to it or heavy percussion.
But now I see it more as the answer to the PTSD of living in that era.
Oh, okay, absolutely.
So it's just
art, but it's interesting because art tends to come out of some form of strife, whether it's the individual or communal. It comes from a need to express, whether it's dissatisfaction, happiness, and I think that's been happening through time. It's a way of communicating to one another, and also creates community, right? Because the whole hip hop is a community, and there's so much to that. That's a whole separate even show. But yes, it comes out of a lot of the
trauma
and adversity.
So it was just like life finds a way like to get better, and I think that was, and it just rang true. Everything that I was looking at from the therapy, from the cons, why it makes people happy, it all rang so true.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
So I could say a few things on.
Let's go.
You're holding your breath for me to say something. Well, I am saying something now. So let me just look at notes, because I think DJ MayDay has basically covered so much of the basics around that. But it's also there are art classes people can take as part of the self-care. It also has a benefit of protecting your physical health. You can be more physically active if you're doing something like a Comic-Con. You have to get up and walk around and talk to folks and just be in that environment.
You're like on your feet for 8 hours.
On your feet. So art the creativity can actually help your physical well-being, and also art relaxes you. Art can inspire you. So, and it also can recharge you. If you're tired or you're feeling kind of down from a busy day or whatever, if you have an art expression, it can actually boost you up. So there's such a thing as adult coloring books. I think we talked about that
We
before.
talked about that.
Group art classes, pottery classes. So it's the community, and I think we talked about the safe space.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So all of this is about creating a safe space for your creativity.
And there's a stigma
in a community.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, please.
But there's a stigma around that word right now. I'm not 100% sure why, but we're talking safe space in the purest sense. A place where you can, be creative and have, and be creative with your thoughts and express yourself.
So, but why is it? I think I asked you this before.
Don't know.
Why did you think it's a stigma? Because I haven't heard that.
Because sometimes I'll watch Fox News, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yes. That'll do it.
Well, they're always
that's another lens.
Liberals want a safe space, and
right? So that's where that. So it's a reaction.
Yeah,
so it's a reaction
why is a
statement.
safe space a bad thing?
Right.
Doesn't everybody want a safe space?
Right. So I understand that when you mention that, then it's like, okay, if you're coming from a certain ideology, safe space can sound like leftist or conforming to some other.
Right. No, I mean, we mean
language
I think
and
we mean it in the purest sense. A place where you feel safe.
Yeah. Safe space. And Comic-Con is a safe space for
a super safe space.
Yeah.
And because I've also seen what appears to be, and I don't know for sure, but trans, comic fans, right? They're normally men during the day and all year, but they come.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm trying to make sure.
Am I tripping over
I
these
just want
words?
to make sure we're not going to go down a slippery slope here.
It's always a slippery slope.
But so if I may,
yes,
and this may be watering down what you're saying, so I apologize if that's what it is. The Comic-Con community is very inclusive.
Absolutely. That's what I meant to say.
Thank you. I'm the cleanup dude, baby. Y'all come and clean up that shit real quick. But it is very inclusive, and it always has been, and it just keeps expanding and expanding. More people are drawn to it. It's not what it was, just a bunch of like geeks or something, crazy people dressing up like this and that. It really is an art form.
Yes,
it's an art form.
And I just want to speak to something as well. Like
Absolutely.
When I would go as a kid to Pennsylvania Hotel downtown on 33rd Street, that's where it used to be. That's where it used to be.
Yeah, because in Jacob Javits now, isn't it?
That used to be the biggest. It was called a Big Apple Con.
Oh,
and that was the convention that was.
That was a big one
for years. For almost 20 years that I can remember. And then the Javits Comic-Con.
Yeah, because I remember going to, that other location. Yeah, I remember.
So when I first initially started going there was a lot of times, and most of the times, I was the brownest person in the area.
Yes.
As a child.
Great point.
As like 10, 12, 13, me and my friend, we were like the brownest people there.
And that is way no longer the case.
No, there's like that inclusivity has included everyone. So there's a lot of, I'm not to say that there isn't any sort of, biases that happens there, but there is definitely a shift where there's a lot of black and brown creatives.
All right, it's your guy, DJ MayDay. We're here with Gregory Maldonado, comic creator, and we're just asking around at the con, like, what do you think an event like this, or comics in general, do for black and brown people?
I know what it did for me. It gave me a safe place outside of whatever was going on in my life to kind of imagine something bigger. Whether it's being a superhero or just being in a different world, whatever it is. It just kind of gives you a good sense of peace.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Now, have you seen like more black and brown Latinos coming to the cons throughout the years, or is it just me?
I have. I think it's not only in the people in the con, but in the creators who are tabling at the cons, who are creating comics. They're creating comics for the black and brown people, and bringing in the people to the convention.
Awesome, man. Cool. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate you, man.
And if I might add to that too, I think and it's reflected in the comics that are being created.
Yes, absolutely.
So there are more black and brown, Muslim superheroes, LGBTQ, AI plus plus are in comic books. Even some of the Japanese manga, they've embraced gay and lesbian characters way before we did in comic book form. So comic books in Japan, the manga is really for adults. Usually that's the adult audience.
Obviously, kids reading it though, but yes.
Yeah, and I think in cartoons it's called hentai. In the cartoon form, hentai is where you have LGBT storylines in animated form, and in Japan that's been happening for decades. But in our society, that's rarely done.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
well,
so
we have the
creative.
Simpsons, the Flintstones. We have
No,
adult.
LGBT specific.
Oh, yes.
I did my
I thought you said
research.
adult. I thought you said
I
adult.
did my research, dude.
Yes,
you know
yes,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes,
But this
yes.
is his territory, not mine.
No, it's our
However,
territory. It's our territory.
it is our territory.
Yes, but
So,
it's
yeah.
like, but anyway, it was more inclusive, and I think it's a great thing. And
Oh, and if I can interrupt too, there are more black and brown artists
yes,
that are also creating the comic books and the subject matter. In fact, even just to come back to Black Panther, that's opening now, was for years written by white writers and artistically, and then some point I don't remember where it changed over, but the artist, the writer was a black artist, and you could tell the difference of the subject matter, the language, even the images, the drawings in the cells. What do you call those guys?
panels.
The panels. In the panels, you could see the artistic difference and the kind of African American.
I think what happened with Black
experience.
Panther though, it's interesting. It's like initially it was introduced in Fantastic Four. I don't remember what issue, but Black Panther was introduced in the Fantastic Four, and it was given this grand, never
Entry.
before
Never before, yeah.
point of view of like this scientifically advanced African culture that powerful, advanced technologically. That was never done,
Right.
and it was done initially, but at some point it started turning into a blaxploitation kind of esque kind of vibe.
Well, it reflected the 70s where there was black
Right.
exploitation movies and things like that. There was a whole, shift from the 60s to the 70s where you had, Foxy Brown was a character, I think, or Coffee, Shaft, that were very almost like the superhero black. They were like exaggerated versions of, they were comic book versions of
Speaking of
humans.
blaxploitation,
Yes.
I was while I was at the con, I forgot the name of the actor. I always forget his name, but
The karate guy, right? Was that the
it was
karate?
the Last Dragon.
The Last
he was
Dragon.
actually there, and I think that I always say that I feel like that was the last of the blaxploitation movies. In that 70s style. It was in the 80s.
And martial artists. So a lot of martial arts was in the 70s.
So if you've seen The Last Dragon, you know what I'm talking about.
And
Bruce
if you
Leroy.
haven't seen it, please look it
You
up.
gotta
Please
check
watch
it
it.
out.
Yeah.
But I saw him there and I got so excited because I had a childhood like event happen. So this is a couple years after it had come out, but we were showing it what we called, if you lived in the Bronx and went to 180, you know what a GO movie is where they put all the kids. They put all the kids in the theater, in the auditorium, and they play a movie for them. It's like at the end of near a holiday, so they give you a day off and they let you watch a movie. And they put on The Last Dragon. Big mistake. Just
Because it's very
there's
violent.
kung
right?
fu and karate
Fu,
and like it's like, are you crazy? Black and brown people together watching that movie, kids at that. So we get out the movie, and of course I get jumped. So this literally happened. I was about 11 years old.
Wow.
I get jumped by a bunch of kids, and man, I got my Bruce Leroy on, and I just like tore him up, got out of it alive.
Okay.
So, yeah, see,
You
I wanted
you were
play-
throwing hands. Is
I was
that
throwing
is that how the brothers say it? They
feet.
throwing hands.
But the thing was, I saw him, and I was like, I feel like I have to
You
tell him this
inspired.
story.
Yeah.
I was totally geeking out. You know what I mean? So it was just, I don't know.
Can
I
I
love
just
the con.
can I just share another thing too? I can't remember the superhero's name, but they had the first Japanese superhero in Marvel too.
They've had a few.
Yeah, but I'm saying the first one. it was like not too long after Black Panther, there was a Japanese superhero, which was the first one.
Fire or
Maybe you
something?
could look it up. I don't know. Maybe it's not. May take
I think he
maybe
was a
take
mutant, maybe.
too long. I think he was a mutant, but I'm not sure. But he was Japanese. But my point is that Marvel, I think, was the first comic book where you began to see different types of characters, because prior to that character, pretty much, and I might be off a little bit, but a lot of the depictions of Asians was very stereotypical. They were seen as, untrustworthy, the way they drew them. And that character was strong, came from a super intelligent, it was just a depiction of an Asian. There were no other, my point is, there were no Japanese or other Asian superheroes until like some part of the 60s.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it.
No, it's not.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, continue. I'll find them.
So, well, Marvel's always kind of always been about the first. They've always like seemed to have been ahead of the curve, and they always spoke against injustice and, well, try to anyway. Not all aspects of it, but they've always were on the cusp of, the way society seems to be going.
Well, that's what they try to do, I think, is reflect what was happening in the society. I mean, pretty much all of DC characters, they were all white. There was no color. And even the women did not have like a strong, powerful presence, I think, until maybe Wonder Woman came onto the picture. But prior to that, they were the damsels in distress and so on. And I think Marvel really brought, powerful women. DC too, but Marvel.
Well,
I
I mean, right now I'm reading like the Fantastic Four from the beginning,
Yeah.
and meh. If those comics came out now, they would be so canceled.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy how language has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like damsel, they would call women females.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, and in the beginning, the Invisible Woman was the weakest character. All she could do is disappear and shrink into the scene, like shrink away from the scene, because she can turn invisible, so nobody knows she's there. And by this point, she's probably the most powerful one, because not only can she turn invisible, but she can create.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Sunfire.
Sunfire, mutant. Yeah, Sunfire. It was the
He
original
was the
X-Men.
first.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I
you
had
threw
to
me off.
prove that point, man.
That
It was
wasn't about
like,
proving,
yo.
and I don't know if
But I think representation is so important, and I think now, we're in October 2022. The whole is a lot about representation, and I think that whole idea of the safe space, I think, is somehow a reaction to that. Like, different people need to feel safe. So how many safe spaces are there going to be for these different people that we're talking about? So representation is what I think Marvel kind of was the forefront of that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna wrap
That's
up.
it? Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a Comic-Con or a comic book convention near you, I suggest you go to partake and enjoy.
And use art as an outlet of creativity, if that's something that you're drawn to.
Yes, yes. I'm DJ MayDay.
And I'm Professor S.
This is Six Train Therapy. Peace.
Take care. Have a good day.